All right, so 8.1, like we talked about yesterday, one of the main things we're going to talk about is the election of 1800. Okay, that is the big thing from this chapter. That's one of the big things in this chapter that's going to be on your your benchmark test. Okay, so what comes from the election of 1800? Why is it important? The main thing is going to be the 12th Amendment that comes from. Okay, sets up how president and vice president get elected. Changes it. Okay, so in the election of 1800, candidates shared their views in newspapers and political parties, made personal attacks on opposing candidates. Okay, kind of sounds about how we do it now, except it's not so much in newspapers, more so on TV, in ads, and social media. Okay, that's where you get a lot of the views from candidates. Political parties will do personal attacks on opposing candidates, same way on ads, social media, TV, whatever they can get their hands on. Okay. So after the electoral votes caused a tie between Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr, the House of Representatives voted Jefferson in by one vote. I would highlight that bullet right there. Okay. Because you need to know it caused a tie. There was a tie in the election of 1800. That's important. And Jefferson was voted in by just one vote over Aaron Burr from the Electoral College. Okay. And I would highlight the next bullet too. The 12th Amendment changed the electoral process to prevent a tie in a presidential election. Okay. So what they did is they changed it to where the president and vice president are elected together, as opposed to whoever gets first gets president, whoever gets second is vice president. Okay? Because that's how it was, and that's how come there was a tie, because they would vote for two candidates instead of just one as a group. Does that make sense? You know how we vote now, like the president and vice president are one, and when you vote for one, you vote for both. Okay? Here you voted for two separate people. And I'll show you on this map on the next slide how that kind of broke down. Okay. In his inaugural address, Jefferson said he would create a frugal government and support states' rights. Who knows what frugal means? Nobody? That's all right. Frugal means like you're going to save money. You're not going to spend very much money. You're going to be pretty tight with your money. You're not going to just spend it on anything you see. Okay? So he's going to try to save the government some money. All right, so on this map, okay, you can see all the blue states that are have numbers on them that are blue, whether Jefferson or Democrat or Republican votes, they got 73. All the yellow states were for Adams, and from the Federalist Party, they got 65. Then you see the states that have two lines, that have yellow and blue both on them. Okay, those are the states that were split. There's 3 states you can see here on this little chart. If they have numbers on blue and yellow, like Maryland, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, their votes were split between the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. Okay, so that's why there ended up being a tie, because you can see these states voted for 2 people. All right. And at the end of the day, 73 votes were both candidates, Jefferson and Burr, had 73 votes. Okay. And in a tie, then the Constitution said it would go to a House of Representatives to vote, and Jefferson ended up winning that vote. Okay. So a little bit about Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was a Renaissance man. All right, anybody know what that means? Means he was kind of into the arts. He was smarter than your average bear, you could say. Okay, he was curious about world events and culture. He wanted to know what was going on. He was very accomplished in the arts, and he was also knowledgeable about a wide variety of subjects. Okay, so he was educated. All right, he was cultured. And then Jefferson as the president. So what he wanted to do was to create a stable economic system. Okay, to do that, a few things he did. He reduced national debt by cutting military expenses, limiting the number of federal government workers, and got rid of most federal taxes. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when he's going to be frugal. Not going to spend very much money. He was going to save more money than he spent. Okay? So, before Jefferson took office, the Federalists passed the Judiciary Act of 1801 to expand the nation's court system and keep it under Federalist control. Okay, I would highlight that one. Okay? The Judiciary Act of 1801, expand the nation's court system and keep it under Federalist control. So, even though Jefferson was a Democratic Republican, the Federalists they passed the Judiciary Act to keep the court systems under Federalist control. All right. Now, the next bullet, I would also highlight the Supreme Court that was led by Chief Justice John Marshall, established the principles of judicial review, and expanded the power of the federal government. Okay. So, John Marshall, Chief Justice John Marshall, he is a very important guy we're going to talk about. He is basically, we're going to talk about some court cases that have come up that are what are called landmark court cases. Okay? And Chief Justice John Marshall, he ruled on all of them. Okay? He's very important. He made a lot of rulings that affected or still affected the United States at the time. Okay? They're the first cases of their kind. And he was the one that made rulings on them. All right, so he's a very important person. He will be on your benchmark as well. Okay, some of those court cases where he was the Chief Justice and made rulings on. Marbury versus Madison, McCulloch versus Maryland, Gibbons versus Ogden, and Worcester versus Georgia. We're going to talk about all these. We won't talk about all of them during this chapter. But we are going to talk about all of them eventually. Okay, what you need to know is he was the one who ruled on those. All right. So, any questions about any of this stuff? Any of 8.1 that you read yesterday? No? Okay. So, today, I'm going to show you guys a video here in just a second. It's also on Google Classroom, so you guys can go watch it later or whatever. But it talks about Jefferson versus Hamilton, and it's called Jefferson versus Hamilton, and talks about West Point College, the Army College. Okay. After we watch the video, you guys can work on 8.1 guided reading. And it's due tomorrow with your vocab builder. Okay? Any questions about that? All right.